Tabo, good evening to you once again. And indeed, as you correctly say, a number of dignitaries are here tonight to honor the man who served as Chief Justice. And that role is no easy task, Tabo. This is the custodian of the Constitution of South Africa. And I don't need to explain to you what that Constitution is, because it is the law, the supreme law of the nation. But one guest that needs no introduction is someone who put together a report back in 2016, if you'll remember, and she said it would lead, it is the Commission of Inquiry into state capture. And so Justice Zondo, you will recall, would later be the person that then leads that inquiry, because Thuli Madonsela said, well, her office did not have the kind of resources in order to lead that kind of inquiry. Let's speak to her now. She is my guest tonight. Prof, good evening to you. So good to talk to you and see you face to face after a long time. Let's reflect on Justice Zondo, because some time ago, you were quoted as saying Justice Zondo exemplified what it means to lead with integrity. Explain to us what you meant by those words.
Hi, Thuli. Justice Zondo is the man we needed at this time, or a person we needed at this time. He has, throughout his life, led with integrity, quiet dignity, and ruthless focus. And the state capture investigation was a tough job. The atmosphere was poisoned, and it needed somebody with a cool head, somebody who was not going to be emotional, but also somebody who was going to stay focused on the ball, regardless of the threats, regardless of the insults, and regardless of just all of the indignity he was going to suffer. And he suffered all of it with courage and grace under fire.
There's something about his attributes, personal attributes, that perhaps helped him to withstand, as you say, those insults. What do you think some of those are?
Well, firstly, he's a good lawyer because he comes from labor law, and to be a labor law during apartheid was not an easy task, because this is the time when, as a black person, you were not even regarded as a proper person. So you needed to keep your cool head so that you can push your matter forward without being distracted by being disrespected. And he's done just that at this stage. He's kept his head. And I think what he has is emotional intelligence and social intelligence. But he also has intellectual intelligence, and I suspect he also has spiritual intelligence.
Yeah. The State Capture Commission of Inquiry, it has come and gone, but some will say it's left us a blueprint upon which this country will use and reference in order to fight the cancer of corruption. Do you think the government of the day is doing just that, or it's still limping along?
I think it has been taking the state capture matter seriously, but there's been a little bit of limping along, because quite a number of people have been held accountable, but the big fish are still roaming the seas, although their day is going to come. But that said, what we can be grateful for with regard to government's conduct is that it has not interfered. The NPA has been handling this all by itself. The ID has now been given the ability to be a full-time unit and has been given resources, and really big guns are being hired into the ID and into the NPA. So, as they say, lies have speed, but truth has endurance.
Those are very wise words. The legacy of Justice Zondo, what do you think is going to be his indelible mark when it comes to the judiciary in this country?
I think the greatest legacy he's leaving is not just state capture. It is two things. ruthless protection of the rule of law, even when it means holding people you love, holding people you respect accountable. And that's what he did when the president of the country defied the courts. He realized that if he allowed that to happen, anybody could have done that, and the rule of law would have flown out of the window, and there would have been anarchy in the country. So that's one part of the legacy that he leaves. He also leaves a legacy of judges needing to keep cool heads, because it's not just what you do as a judge, it's how you do it, and it's also how you maintain dignity and respect for humanity. And I think he's done that. So respect, grace under fire, and just unshakable integrity.
Respect, grace under fire, and an unshakable integrity. Thank you very much, Professor Thuli Madonsela. Those kind words directed to the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. And this is one of many. This is one of many, Thabo, that are going to be held, these events, in honor of Justice Raymond Zondo. And I can tell you that in a few days' time, you're going to see all arms of the state, as I mentioned earlier, sort of coming together, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, and they will once again come in honor to basically celebrate this man, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. And as a station, Newzroom 405, we did put together something of a tribute to honor Justice Raymond Zondo. Let's take you down memory lane. Have a listen to this.
This is perhaps how most South Africans will remember Chief Justice Raymond Mnyamezeli Mlungisi Zondo. In 2018, just a year after he was appointed Deputy Chief Justice, he chaired the country's Judicial Commission of Inquiry into state capture. The commission, which sat until 2023, was dogged by delays and controversy, none more so than the legal standoff between Zondo and former President Jacob Zuma. It was Zondo who asked the Constitutional Court to step in when Zuma refused to testify before an inquiry he had established.
Previously, I determined that today up to Friday would be the week when the former president, Mr. Jacob Zuma, would appear before this commission. He was notified thereof, and after some time, his attorneys wrote to the commission and said that he would not be appearing before this commission.
Zuma's defiance of both the inquiry and the country's highest court led to Justice Sisi Kampepe eventually sentencing him to 15 months behind bars for contempt of court. Just days after Zuma began serving his sentence in July 2021, parts of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng experienced some of the deadliest riots in the country's democratic history. Justice Zondo began his legal career during the volatile 1980s. In August 1985, he suffered a tremendous loss when Victoria Mkenge, the director of the law firm where he was serving his articles of clerkship, was assassinated by agents of the apartheid regime. During this time, Zondo was also working to uplift his family. He recalled this difficult period in his life during his interview for the position of Deputy Chief Justice in 2017.
My mom could not believe it when I came back from town and told her that I had been able to make arrangements so that they would be able to have groceries while I was studying. And that is what happened for 3 years. And when I'd finished my junior degree, I went back to this man. His name was Mr. Musa, and thanked him and asked him what arrangements we could make for me to pay back. Sorry, Chief Justice. So he said, no, don't worry. Just do to others what I've done to you. And I thought that was very important. And in my own small way, I tried to do that.
Zondo served on the bench for 27 years. These included stints as a judge in the Labour Court in 1997. From there, he moved to Transvaal Provincial Division of the High Court in 1999. A year later, in 2000, he was Judge President of the Labour Court. He served in this position for over a decade before he was appointed to the Constitutional Court in 2012. 5 years later, he became the Deputy Chief Justice and then the Chief Justice in 2022.
Ready to get into retirement?
Very ready. I must just finish the big job that still remains, but otherwise I'm ready and I'm looking forward to it.
Zondo's last day on the bench will come at the end of this month, when he will vacate the seat for Justice Mandisa Maya, who will become South Africa's first woman Chief Justice.
Thabo, that's the short history of Justice Raymond Zondo, and that 3 minutes that we have tried to encapsulate as a station to pay tribute to Justice Zondo is not enough for a career spanning 27 years. But it's the words of Professor Thuli Madonsela that still ring in my head, a man who has led with unshakable integrity. And let me bring into the conversation now Justice Thuli Madonsela, who is one of the people that has been leading on the bench with Justice Zondo. Justice Madonsela, good evening to you.
Good evening.
So good to see you.
Good evening, Thuli.
After many years. The last time I saw you was at the Commission of Inquiry into the Marikana massacre. Let's talk about, firstly, what it's been like to lead at the Constitutional Court alongside Justice Raymond Zondo.
I would not really want to use the word that I led as such, but of course, after the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice, I am at the moment the most senior judge, and in that sense, they do give me some leadership tasks, and I have tried to do the best I can, in that capacity.
The legacy is what many of the people are going to reflect on here tonight. He became Deputy Chief Justice in the period 2012 all the way up until 2017.
2012, that's when he was appointed a Justice of the Constitutional Court, and he became Deputy Chief Justice a good few years thereafter.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What kind of legacy do you think he is going to leave behind? I have a few questions of my own, but let me allow you the opportunity to reflect.
I will peg it on two aspects. Just as a jurist or as a judge, he was first a judge of the Labour Court, then the Labour Appeal Court, after, of course, being a judge of the Gauteng Division. As a judge, he has written a number of landmark judgments. That, to me, is quite a legacy. And I should also highlight the fact that those judgments, Labour Court and Labour Appeal Court, have been cited with approval by the Constitutional Court, which shows the kind of men we are talking about here.
That's an indelible mark, as some would say.
It is.
Let's talk about the Labour Appeal Court, because the understanding, you'll correct me here, but reading from some of the writings, recent writings, is that there's been a lot of ructions inside the Labour Appeal Court, lots of challenges. But what do you think was done there? What could we say has been the lasting impact, so to speak?
I prefer to talk more about him as a judge and not necessarily the detail about him leading the labor courts as such, because I cannot claim to have been exposed that much. I guess I missed an opportunity because quite a number of times he kept inviting me to go and act at the Labor Appeal Court, and regrettably I turned him down. If I had not done so, I think I would be in a position to answer your question now. But as a judge of both courts, he is a luminary, or was a luminary, when he still sat in those two courts.
Ordinary South Africans, whenever Raymond Zondo, the name, is uttered in public, immediately the reference is the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Do you think that that is one of the lasting legacies perhaps he's going to leave behind?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, he did a sterling job, chairing that commission, going through all of the evidence. I mean, you saw the mounds and mounds of paper when the commission had completed its work. It was a mammoth task, but very well executed. It definitely is part of his legacy.
I'm letting you go because I know it's a very busy evening tonight for especially someone like you. So let's talk briefly about who the key speakers are going to be here tonight. What can we look forward to?
The president, as I'm sure the media has seen, has had to pull out because of an affliction to his eye. And in his place is Minister Thembi Simelane, and then there's also the president of the Supreme Court of Appeal. There's Thuli Madonsela. There's former Chief Justice Mogoeng. Let me give you that so far. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
much.
Thank
That's
you.
Justice Madlanga, a Constitutional Court judge, and reflecting on what he thinks is the legacy of the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Thabo, let's send it back to you.